Who are we?
And
Nobody knows.
I do.
No.
And we're live on Facebook too. So hi everybody watching Instagram,
Hi.
Facebook. Good to see you.
Hello.
Again, I'll repeat what you said, which is welcome to True Mental Health. And I repeat again, who are we?
You guys, is anyone else feeling these shifts? I mean, it's like massive right now. I'm just like, who am I? I don't know. I don't know what to say, do, be. Ugh.
Yeah. There's this really deep, I don't know what the words are. It's like Mariana's Trench deep shift, growth, expansion, becoming. Consciousness is a really, 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 really different adventure. It's so, for any of you guys that are choosing it, right there with you.
Yeah, we were like trying to put words to what we were experiencing, and we're both like, I don't have the words. The reference points go away, and so then it's like, I don't know. I'm just weird. I feel weird. I feel strange.
We're weird. And today we're going to talk about nothing happens to you. Okay, so I'll give. So for those of you guys that usually follow Janine, I know that I'm an abrupt splash of cold water to the face many times.
Oh, feels good though.
Oh my god! So it's like a cold shower. It's like rejuvenates yourselves. But foundation is one of the classes in Access Consciousness. I have a foundation coming up. Janine also facilitates foundation, so I would encourage you guys to ask her to put one on the schedule. But it's the second core class in Access, and it's just a game changer because it starts to introduce you to all these different articulations of things that you haven't considered that seem to actually work better and be lighter, but they're confronting in some respects. And so what we did today is we were like, well, what if we just go through the foundation manual and pick a topic? And so one of the sections in foundation is called Nothing Happens to You. Now guess how big the section in the manual is. Guess.
2 sentences. That's it. What am I supposed to go on with that?
We're going to talk about it for 30 minutes. So,
yes.
Wow, where do we even start with this? So, okay, you go.
No, yeah, we're both like, where are we going? Okay. I was looking at immediately when something traumatic happens to us, we ultimately start to function from more of a like victim mindset. It's in service of keeping us safe, right? This big event happens. We didn't expect it. So it's like, oh my God, the world is dangerous. Things are happening to me. I'm at effect, right? And so it's like we function from this place in order to keep ourselves safe. Yet as we go through the healing work, the consciousness work, we start to take more and more responsibility for the way things show up. And then you get to Access Consciousness and it's like, well, you chose it all. And I was like, what? Are you sure? Because I'm going to need to see the contract that I signed because I don't recall.
Yeah. I mean, it's wow, where to start with this? Yeah. It's like, what if your choices are more, what if you choose more often than you know? What if your choices are occurring, whether they're conscious or unconscious? What if the truth about you is so great that you haven't really been willing to let it in? There's so many things I love about Nothing Happens to You. There's the primary thing being that if it's true that nothing happens to me and I create everything, then if I've created a pile of shit or I've created a terrible thing, I can also turn around and create a wonderful thing. Whereas if something's happened to me, I have to then figure out why it happened and how to not deserve it the next time or how to keep myself safe. I have to then go into like massive amounts of judgment about a lot of different things in order to determine what it was that did occur that was out of my control. And that I remember we started out the show by wanting to kind of put two concepts next to each other and go, well, which one makes you more functional? that thing where you have to go in and try to figure everything out in that way actually makes you a lot less functional, because then you have to be afraid, and then you have to like, you lose access to you. You lose access to your awareness, you lose access to your choices. And the only thing you can start to do then is begin to determine and judge and protect and cut off in order for that thing not to happen again. If you create everything, then you kind of get to go, well, what did I choose that created that?
Okay, so it's like, yeah, rather than pointing outside of ourselves and saying, well, this happened to me and this happened to me, and totally disempowering you, which I don't find very functional. I also get there's a big caveat with this, and we can't go into judgment or shaming ourselves for what we have chosen, because then I can see where it would like get us stuck in this loop, like, oh, I created this pile of crap, and like, nah, and just kind of just totally dig ourselves into a hole.
Well, we totally can go into all that judgment, but it doesn't render us more functional.
No, that's true.
And you're right about that. Like, this isn't about that. This isn't about going, now I want you to make yourself wrong for everything that you've chosen and blame yourself. That's a whole other, that's like the swing of the pendulum into the other universe of distraction, which is like blame and shame and regret and guilt. And that's not what we're talking about at all. What we're actually talking about is really looking at like, what like, how powerful are you that you've never really looked at? Could anything actually happen to an infinite being with infinite awareness or something else? If an infinite being, like if an infinite being has infinite, that doesn't mean that we're functioning as an infinite being, or we were even taught that we have awareness, or that we were like, none of us were sent to Awareness 101, which I think should be a university that you are entered into by the time you hit the planet. You should be like, as a baby, put into awareness.
Free ride.
Yeah. But we didn't get that, so we grew up in these soups and these families, and everyone doing the best they could. And so all of that, right? But it's like, it's kind of looking at like, consciousness like shows up in your world by kind of getting a sense of like the symptoms that are happening. And one of the, where this topic really opened up for me was like, I was kind of still spinning in like all my childhood sexual abuse and all the abuses that had gone on in my life, right? I was still, I was spinning, I was looping. I had been to so much therapy. I've done so much therapy. I had done EMDR and hypnosis and breath work and all these things. And I came to Access Consciousness and I kind of thought I'd handled it, but it was handled to the extent that I had a story around it. And yet that story hadn't set me free. I wasn't free. I was still kind of like, well, I'm a victim, I'm a survivor, and that's just the way it is. And there was all these just other symptoms of that point of view showing up in my life. So when somebody said to me, well, are you a victim or something else? And I was like, it gets lighter when it's something else. And lightness is an indicator of what's true for you.
Yeah.
And so I had to start, I was just kind of pulled in that lighter direction. I'm like, I'm not a victim. Okay, well, what do you mean? Well, did you choose the family you came into? I was like, weird, but yes. Like, why would I do that? I had all these judgments about that, because it was hard to be there. I wanted to kill myself after 30 years of trying to be happy. So that didn't seem like a choice I would make. So in the beginning I kind of judged, why the fuck did I choose this? And it was lighter that I chose it, but why the fuck? So you go through all your different like phases with awareness around this. It's a big topic, but the thing is that it kept getting lighter as I kept looking at, I chose this. Now, did I create people being mean? No. Did I create somebody doing abuse? No, they do that. They chose that.
Yeah.
I just chose to be there for it. And so that was interesting to me, because I was like, it made me ask, what was I choosing this for?
Mm-hmm.
Like, was I creating something for myself that I haven't acknowledged? Did I require to know about something here. And if I look at me now, at 40, 46 and facilitating consciousness, there is literally nothing I can't be with somebody about. I have been through so many different things and transformed them and created my life beyond them now that there's nothing you can say to me that would shock me and I have judgment about. There's nothing that I can't handle. I can take any experience, topic, energy and be that with you for you to find what's true about you on the other side. Nothing scares me. I mean, that's a power. And so that's the thing I invite everybody to look at. And that's the reason I invite you to look at it, is because you and I, like you and I've talked, we're so powerful.
Yeah.
We have so much strength and so much generosity of spirit and so much kindness and so much caring. And we cover all of it up we cover it all up a lot. And we go into a lot of surviving and a lot of coping because we aren't given tools.
Yeah.
But what's really true about us is always underneath everything that we think is happening to us. And so getting more access to like that has given me.
Yeah.
And
yeah, there's something that was coming up for me when you were talking about kind of the abuse, choosing it, but like not in the sense of like you knew, let's say, exactly what was going to happen, right? Or you chose, like you said, for someone to be mean to you. No, it's kind of more like choosing the energy that you were perceiving that was coming up so that it would create something greater in your next step. So that it would like bring some awareness, like that specific energy of that specific person or whatever, with however it shows up, created the clarity to take the next step. Am I getting that?
Yeah. There's so much to it. There's so much to it. I mean, like in my life right now, like there's this, I have these asks in my world. I kind of always have. Like, this is something you guys can look at for yourself. I've always had these like deep asks. I didn't know they were asks, but they would show up as kind of like, it's so cool, or these longing towards particular energies, and
like, what do you mean by that? Can you extrapolate a little bit more on like what do you mean by
asks? Yeah, I've always been kind of drawn to I guess utopian ideals of how the world could be or how people could be in various ways, like, and so when I look back there, I was aware of a possibility of how people could be with each other, kinder, gentler, more filled with caring world, Yeah. And I grew up in I was very naive to the way the world worked. I was raised in a cult, and so we had a very, 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 very insulated childhood. Like I didn't even have a TV till I was 13. I didn't listen to the radio till I was 16. When I went to public school, it was in the late 80s, early 90s, and let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you. And I was like mortified. I'm like, oh my God, like I grew up on classical music and Broadway songs. Like I had on the one regard, I had this very like, I don't even know, not even a Cinderella upbringing.
Doesn't say like pure,
very pure upbringing mixed with this undercurrent of like sexual abuse.
That's
and
wild.
like,
yeah.
Oh, so, like there are so many things about that. But I did come into kind of the world, like a lot of the kids that I would go to school with and that I went to school with were like, they were super educated and street savvy. They were street savvy,
Mm-hmm.
They knew about drugs and sex and alcohol. And I knew nothing about that. I was like, I don't even know, Little Miss Snowpuff coming into like
doe-eyed.
I can't even find an analogy, but yeah. And so the world was shocking to me. I was like, but if you look at the question of like what's right about that I'm not getting, because I have continued to kind of be shocked by the world, is like, what's cool about it is that I've also brought with me this really innocent kind of sense of what I know also is that nobody's really paying attention to, or giving in isn't cool. It's not the cool kids. That's not what the cool kids are choosing. Yeah. But it's this, I don't even know. Yeah. Like, anyway, so this sense of things. So yeah.
Well, I was going to ask, is there something about like where you had an awareness of that you had to choose like the greatest contrasting things to create the awareness? It's like you grew up in the purity, but then the crazy abuse. It's like the contrast of that is insane to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was really crazy making. And what's really interesting is that I had a lot to recover from.
Sure.
I thought. But what I've noticed with Access is that with consciousness tools is more than recover from, because yes, there is a part of that. It's like we facilitate a lot of things with our body, and there is that component to it. But I've noticed that more healing, when I was going after healing, I had less freedom. When I've gone after consciousness, I got more healing.
What do you mean by going towards healing versus going towards consciousness?
So when I was going after healing, like with therapy and EMDR and, trying to heal from abuse, for example, right? Like I've been through trauma. Now I need to heal.
Yeah.
I could change things to a certain degree, like a little bit here and there, and I would get some change, but it never did the thing. What I mean is like, and I didn't know that until I got to Access Consciousness classes, and I started being asked questions like, well, did it happen to you, or did you choose it, create it? And I was like, that's not a therapy conversation. That's like,
no, it's not something you'd ever say in therapy. Yeah.
What do you mean? But I'd had enough of this light and heavy conversation, like what's light for me is true for me, and what's heavy is light. I'm like, okay, that's lighter. Ooh, that's annoying though. That, that with those conversations and access to those awarenesses that were very, very different, they were like almost exactly the opposite of what I'd been told. I started to heal more. I started to become more. I started being more empowered. I started having more choices, and I started not being stuck by the past anymore, because therapy would stick it in place. Not that they were trying to, but it was like stuck there. It was just a fact. Like, I'm an alcoholic. I'll always be an alcoholic. It's never going to change sort of energy, I guess.
Yep. Yeah.
And so with these other conversations, I was starting to get access to actually what I knew pre-choosing that family or choosing that school or choosing to go through that was really not cognitive. It was just this awareness of like, I did know something. And so, we were talking, I don't know, this has so many facets to it. So the choosing the family with like the greatest polarizations, like now what I'm recognizing is like, I have had an ask in my world. I'm starting to be able to articulate what was always there that I couldn't articulate, right? It was just there. I was being it. I brought it in with me. It's this desire, this want a greater world, and consciousness matches it. So I'll go that direction. And now what I'm seeing is like, wow, without that choice, I would not be getting access to the degrees of consciousness I'm now able to access, because that juxtaposition has wedged me in such a way that I'm like reaching beyond it. And so there's that, I would not be able to have what I'm asking for without that. That was such a gift. But I couldn't even get to that. It was a gift. Like, you got to be grateful for what you went through. Didn't do the thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, okay. And so something's popping for me around like this idea of like healing, because, it's just like the common phrasing we use, healing, you need to do healing, and something sticks me about it. There's something that's like, I'm like, there's not full truth there. So that's why when you were starting to talk about like going towards healing or consciousness, I was like, ooh, that just whatever it is. I don't necessarily have words for it.
Yeah.
But do you get where I'm going with this?
I do. Yeah. Well, so I guess you really, to break this down for yourself, for whoever's listening to this, you kind of have to look at like, I'm going to go a different direction with this. Healing is a side effect of consciousness. When money, for example, is a side effect of following joy.
Yeah.
We're taught to go after the side effect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of
Totally.
that, and that's it. But without access to the thing that creates a different side effect, then going after the other side effect is always only semi-functional. It's like it doesn't quite work. It's clunky. It's like you don't, if you go, for example, after money without finding like just what is so joyful for you that you could do it without getting paid, it's a lot more work. You're much more likely to choose and have burnout and overwhelm and um, all the negative side effects. That it's like taking a pharmaceutical rather than going to the asking your body something, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
just going to take a pharmaceutical to squash this symptom and never really ask a question about, well, what is this? What can I do with it? Because we're not, and again, it's so much that we haven't been educated.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, I like the money example because it's really clear to me where it's like, well, yes, but what does the money create? And it's like when I'm going after money, but it's like, well, because I want the freedom, I want the space, and
it's
just
not
to
really
be
the
able to,
money you want.
right. It's like just everything it creates. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you actually want a way of living that includes you and all these choices and like being able to choose anything at any time. That's actually what you want.
Yeah.
Right. And this is, I mean, I have to constantly have this conversation with myself. I go kind of deeper into it all the time. This is a new kind of rebirthing, I guess, of this in my world too. But it's like, what is it that really is that oxygen, that nourishment for my being? And so anyway, so when I go after that, money follows. When you go after like what's really true about you and really light and really like starts to articulate these things that are just all lumped together. Basically, when you go after lightness in any conversation, in any choice, you get access to more of what's true about you, how you truly function, how things really work about you, what you really know,
Yeah.
what you really do perceive, what you can receive, like, and that's the stuff that starts to enliven your world. And so then healing just is a natural side
Mm-hmm.
effect of that. Because why do we need to heal if we weren't ever fucked up to begin with?
Yeah. Totally. Totally. Yeah.
If
I mean, I really resonate with the idea of just that we are already of like whatever we want to say, like a higher vibration or healed. And then it's just all our points of view that go into constriction and dis-ease regarding how we're looking at the energy and how we're perceiving it.
Yeah, and are there things that you can contribute to this sweet body of yours that's like been through a lot? Yes. But what if you applied consciousness to your body and saw what happened? Instead of assuming that your body needs is broken, what if
Yeah.
you just went, what can I contribute to you? What consciousness can I contribute to you? What consciousness can I actually have here about this? And that's, man, that's the conversation I want to be.
Yeah, well, and especially with getting back to the idea of like nothing happens to you, even the like physical symptoms that your body is expressing, like communicating, it's like just even looking at from that, okay, well, what did I maybe unconsciously choose here that contributed to that is going to open up possibility to see something else versus being stuck with, well, now I have this label, this dis-ease, and the end, I can't do anything about it. And for me, this whole sense of the conversation is that nothing happens to you, is it empowers you to more possibilities that maybe would not have been there if we looked at it differently.
Yeah. And for me, it's really empowered me to look at, well, okay, my body hurts. Well, what is that? Is it a choice I made? Is it an ability that I have? Do I have more awareness? Is my body more aware than I've ever given it credit for? Is it aware of like things, energies 8,000 miles in every direction? Is it a healing body? What does a healing body do that I've been calling a headache? Do
Yeah.
I have an ability with the spirit world? Nobody's talking about that.
Yeah. Can you
We
talk
have,
about what a healing body is? I want to
yeah,
know.
like our bodies, most of us that can identify, for example, as an empath or intuitive or as
Yeah.
some people actually do call themselves healers. We the being are a healer, and I would say 9 times out of 10, also the body is a healer. And healing bodies, like if you look at doggies, like a lot of times doggies with their owners will like, if the owner is sick or something, the dog will actually
Yeah.
take take that illness out of their body, and then the doggy dies, and then, you know, the
Yeah.
owner is, and I can't, I'm butchering the example a
I'm
little bit, but
familiar.
it's a lot like that. Like animals just naturally are that as well, right? But so like I have a healing body. So my body, without me being cognitive about it, without any consciousness, just is what it is. And it naturally starts to heal the other bodies around me. It's not a thinking thing. It's just something that my body does. And also my body has a lot of awareness. And so like when I'm super aware of any judgment that shows up, whether I'm doing it or someone else, I'm super aware of other beings. I'm super aware of the earth. And so my body, all of that awareness shows up as sensations in my body.
Mm.
And, you know, the earth like, for example, having a healing body, it's like, would the earth be as great if we weren't here in a body? Yes or no? So what do we don't even know. We haven't explored, we haven't even asked, like, what is it that we actually contribute by having a body that we just don't even look at, right?
Yeah.
And so having a healing body means all kinds of things. It can mean like
Yeah.
autoimmune disorders. It can mean all kinds of things. It shows up as all kinds of things. But when you don't include that in the conversation and you never ask about it, then you can't get access to what's great about you.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just all these things that have been omitted from our conversations about consciousness. And that's the thing. So that's why when you add consciousness, you get more freedom. Your body stops hurting as much. You're like, oh, because there's this whole universe of what is that is so different from what we've been told. So when you go into this happened to me, you lose access to all of that. You lose access to you. You lose access to everything that's really possible for you. You lose access to healing. You lose.
Yeah.
And
I was getting like, it's kind of like someone burned all the encyclopedias of all this information that, you know, would have given us more access, you know, someone like burned it all. There was a witch burning. I don't know. So it's like, we never knew any of this. So then it's like, it's not even in our awareness. So it's kind of like when you talk about it right now, it can sound really strange and abstract, yet, you know, for me, it's like, I tune into my body, like melting with it. And it's just like, ooh, the words, I can feel it. And so that's what I'm trusting now, because I'm like, we weren't taught this.
Yeah. And so, you know, with all of these conversations, for all of you guys listening, always use the tool of light and heavy. Just use that, you know, because there's so much information out there. You know, you need to know what's true for you. You need to know that. Or I guess just know that you don't want to know that is another choice. But it's, you know, and what's true for you is always going to just go, it's going to create like that sense of space. That's what true for you is always going to create a sense of space. And like, wow. And so look, you can take this and go, if you hear yourself going, well, this happens to me, this happened to me, this happened to me. One of the things you could do is just start listening to yourself talk or think. And notice and pick up on when you say this happened to me. And if you hear yourself, stop and go, wait, did this happen to me or did I choose something here? Because what you're going to get access to, if you're willing, is like the power that you are to create. And that to me has been really game changing.
I want to kind of end on this last question I'm getting on IG, which is, I can't scroll back, but it said, I've been in therapy for 26 years. I'm feeling worse than ever. How do I go towards conscious healing? And the first thing that's popping for me is just where there can be limitations in therapy is that if you are regurgitating the same narrative and story over and over again, you're just strengthening those neural pathways that are creating the same reality you don't desire. And so when we're really stuck on kind of just coming to conclusion about why things are the way they are, that stops us from accessing the consciousness is what I'm getting. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, you know, for you, for her and for anyone else who wants to know personally, I would go find a bars practitioner and get your bars run. Healing is a side effect of consciousness. The more consciousness you can add to your world, the more you will heal. So, you know, you can find consciousness in the earth. You can find it everywhere. The world is made of consciousness. and what's going to give you access to more consciousness. I needed more access to it. I was a walking, talking, thinking, feeling traumatic mess. And it's taking 10 years to get here. Whatever.
We got time.
Right? But I needed more access to it. So everything for me personally about access consciousness is the reason that worked is because everything was about giving my body access to more consciousness and giving my being access to more consciousness. So I would say go after the things that give you more access to consciousness. Consciousness just includes everything and doesn't judge anything. That's how you know. It doesn't have a point of view. It's just included. So, run towards that.
Don't walk, run.
Don't walk, run. Yeah. And for those of you guys that are listening for like the first time or you're stumbling on this, if you go to infinitebeingschool.com, I have a really incredible free resource on my website. Janine has incredible resources on her site. I am facilitating a foundation class, which is the second class in Access Consciousness that was like a game changer for me. There's so many things you can choose. So many things you can choose. So just start pulling and researching and you will pull yourself. You always know. You always know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if folks are wanting more on kind of this healing journey, probably my Choosing You program really kind of walks people step by step by kind of looking at the foundational healing through, kind of a psychology lens, but then also incorporating energy psychology tools, consciousness to like take you to the next step. Because what I really get is that people kind of see it from this level. And then once you've done some of that foundational work, oh, wow, okay, I'm ready for the consciousness work. It's kind of a step-by-step process. So
yeah. So your website is what?
Kreftscouch.com. Everything on Krefts Couch everywhere.
Okay. And the one I was talking about is infinitebeingschool.com. Cool. You can, of course, go to crystaljoycrawford.com too, but that's harder to spell. Yeah, you can find something there. And if you guys want to check out accessconsciousness.com as well, that's another choice. So lots of things you can Google.
Yeah, cool. Let us know if you have questions.
Thank you. I adore you.
Yeah, I'm so adore you. See you all next time.
Bye.